From the Ticats Audio Network, this is Speaking with the Enemy.
Lack of sunshine in mid-July certainly not dampening the spirits of Hamilton football fans as we inch a little closer to kickoff between the Tiger Cats and Redblacks on the Ticats Audio Network. I'm Bubba O'Neill along with Andy Fantuz. Time for Speaking with the Enemy, presented by Red Tag. RedTag.ca's Christmas in July exclusive savings are back. Beat the holiday rush by booking your fall or winter vacation early and take advantage of early booking bonuses and perks. Plus, get $125 off select vacation packages. Visit redtag.ca to get your promo code savings today. Certain conditions apply. Now, joining us from TSN 1200 is the voice of the Red Blacks, AJ Jakubec, a good friend. You know, the foreshadowing is incredible from the anger I know you even felt from just 1 year ago today to where we are today. It really is incredible.
Yeah, it's a crazy story with Jeremiah Masoli to think that 1 year ago today he got injured in brutal fashion. One of the worst things I've ever seen in covering the Canadian Football League, not just the hit itself, but the reaction from Garrett Marino and celebrating basically injuring a star player in this league for a long, long time. And with surgeries and infections and complications, Jeremiah Masoli, the fact that he is back 1 year ago, 1 year from the day, and to play his old team for the first time in Hamilton certainly seems like storybook stuff. So we'll see what we get today. But in the meantime, you've got two teams that I think need a win today. Certainly Hamilton at 0-3 and Ottawa at 1-2 with Winnipeg coming up. I think, Masoli's the story, but this is a pretty big football game for both these teams here today in the East.
AJ, I was just down on the field talking with Jeremiah, and he said that Sean Burke surprised him and flew his family with him for his first game back here in Hamilton, and so that was really touching to hear that his family will be in attendance to watch. And then speaking with Burke, getting Masoli back healthy now, do you think that the footprint of the Sean Burke era kind of begins now that sort of the pieces that he brought in to be his team are now healthy?
Well, there's still a lot of injuries here, but that's the nature of pro football. So, yeah, in an ideal world, you'd see Braylon Addison and Shaq Evans and Money Hunter and Devontae Dedman and Jovan Santos Knox and others. Now Tyree Adams, I mean, he would have been the backup here today. He had a very good CFL debut as a starter last week, picking up the win over Edmonton. But in the meantime, yes, I think I felt going into the season, Sean Burke had done a really good job of prioritizing the trenches. Offensive line, defensive line, whether through free agency with Jacob Ruby or Drew Desjardins, whether through the draft with Zach Pelios, Cyril Hogan-Saint-Don, or even this year the number one pick Dante Bull, who they're really high on and is still a few weeks away from playing, but at least back to practicing in full this week. So they prioritize both sides of the line, defensive line, certainly bringing in Lorenzo Malden and the type of season that he had. Mike Fairs had a huge influence with guys like Malden and Cleon Lang and Bryce Carter and the group that they've got. So they've prioritized the trenches, but as good as they've looked in those areas so far this year, quarterback play was lacking. Certainly the first couple of games, it was better against the Edmonton Elks, and I feel like if they get solid quarterback play, that this is probably going to be a playoff team. But it just hasn't been that way really since Trevor Harris left after the 2018 season. And so what the big question on everybody's minds is, what is Jeremiah Masoli going to look like? If you get prime Jeremiah Masoli, then I think this team wins a lot of games and goes to the playoffs. But we're going to find out here today and over the next few weeks what Jeremiah Masoli looks like and if he can be that guy to lead the way. Certainly when you talk to the players, they believe in him. Some of them, you get the sense, almost revere him. Guys, some of his younger teammates that might have watched him for the first time, not at this level, but watching him at college at Ole Miss and before that the University of Oregon. So
that was the feeling here. Here. I mean, Andy, you can talk to that.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Jeremiah had a leadership role even when he wasn't even the starting quarterback. And so that when he got a chance to be that starter in his early days, there was no warm-up period to take those reins and really lead this team on the field and in the locker room. So you could tell by his preparation, he's got a kind of that calm demeanor, that sort of mellow personality, but it's easy to follow because he's so professional, he works so hard, and he's so prepared that you know that you can trust him and he's going to be there for you. So, yeah, he's just I'm so happy he's back, and I wish him all the best, and hopefully for the Ticats fans, he comes up 1 point short.
Just 1 point short.
But yeah, I should have been more specific when I talked about being healthy in the Sean Burke era, because there is a laundry list of injuries that you mentioned that are star players in this league, and every team does have that. But I was more talking about that QB position with your star that you brought in to sort of lead that team. You mentioned the trenches, and that's been a success for the Red Blacks this year. They lead the league 4 sacks per game on the defensive side, and on the offensive line, you had 170, 180 yards rushing last week in the big win. So just speak to a little bit about why that makes successful.
Yeah, and they struggled to run the ball a little bit early, even in preseason and the first couple of weeks of the season. So just sticking with it, as you know, with offensive linemen, they love to be able to run the ball because that's when they can truly get physical with the defense. And they prioritize that in the draft and free agency. And I think running back was a big concern for this team going into the season. They believed they had a real solid change of pace number 2 guy that can contribute on special teams, and ex-Ticat and local Ottawa guy Jackson Bennett, but they weren't sure they had that number 1 guy. They targeted Wes Hills in free agency, and it sounded like he was coming to Ottawa, but a last-second change of heart, he ends up going to the USFL, and all of a sudden Wes Hills is leading the league in rushing. So when DeMontre Tuggle looked as good as he did in preseason, I thought that was a pretty good sign. And the fact that he was able to rush for over 125 yards, his first CFL touchdown, played with Nathan Rourke at Ohio University in the MAC. So, yeah, if they can run the ball, that's going to make the life easier for everybody offensively, from play caller to quarterback to the O-line and everybody else. And we'll see if they can do that to the same effect here today to help set up some of those play action passes that were so successful last week.
Your defense is led by another former Ticat who has been a beast. What has been the difference with Low Malden?
Well, he's been able to stay healthy. I think that's first and foremost. I can't say enough about Mike Fair, defensive line coach that came to the Canadian Football League last year for the first time, and just what a presence. I've only interviewed him once. I've talked to him a million times. But the conversation we had, you can see just why people love playing for him. And he knows his stuff. He was in the National Football League for over 20 years, started as a scout, and then worked his way to becoming a D-line coach. And when he got the opportunity to come north, he embraced it and certainly loves the CFL, and these guys love playing for him. So, but in the end, Malden, this is a third-round pick in the NFL. So he always had the talent, crazy upbringing in terms of just moving around foster home to foster home, and just someone that is willing to tell his story and a role model, I think, for those that, might not have the type of upbringing that is, all unicorns and rainbows with 2 parents and all that type of stuff. And so knows where he came from, and certainly a heck of a football player, and he is thriving with this group led by Mike Fair on the D-line.
Yeah, great person and great story. If anyone doesn't know, please look it up. It's heartwarming for sure. And Mike Fair, you mentioned the coach. You don't often see a coach with dual roles being on different sides of the ball. Defensive line coach, but also the run game coordinator. What impact does he have there?
Yeah, and like that's new to this year. So for me, it's still trying to figure out exactly how it's working on that front as well. But certainly, again, with his skill set, and the ops cap has changed so much in the Canadian Football League. You look at Edmonton, for example, and the fact that they're still paying, 3 or 4 people, and Chris Jones is holding multiple roles. So if you've got people that are good football people that can handle different roles, in today's CFL, that is definitely a bonus.
This has been Speaking with the Enemy, presented by Red Tag. AJ Jakubec, you certainly have a great call, and as we said, maybe Ticats by 1. Maybe? You think?
Hopefully not. We'll see. I'm not making any predictions. Just looking for another great game between these two rivals.
Hey, thank you for checking in. We really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.